Okay, here's a little update on Nigel, the InMoov Robot. I haven't done a video on him recently. He's looking a bit sad at the moment because he's got a problem with his neck, which I'll show you in 2 seconds. But I've while I've got him swung around this side, I've finally finished off. I had these shoulder pieces printed ages ago and part painted, and I never actually put them on. So I finally got round to putting his bicep, his sort of upper arm pieces on, as you can see. So it's got side pieces on as well. Let me just drop the camera very slightly down. So they're on. That was always on, but that's actually glued on to give extra support. But I put that front piece on, and I put the inner piece on both sides. Yeah, you can see it on the camera on both sides. But I've done a few things. I've tidied up the cabling because I was never totally happy. There was just an excess of cabling everywhere, and I've also basically I've tidied up the cabling, but I've also got a problem with the neck, as I was mentioning earlier, and you can see it's actually broken. I've actually cracked the ball joint inside there, which happened when I was doing lots of head movements, and he was going up and down. And when he leant forward, the whole head lifted off slightly, and it snapped the bottom of that ball joint there. Now, I've spoken to a couple of guys on the forum about that. I mentioned it on the Easy B forum, I think it was, and Bob Houston got back to me and suggested that he puts a small block in here to stop the head falling right down, because I think it's the weight of the head, or partly weight of the head. So I'm going to look at that, and also Arius and Perry on the blogs mentioned they put a spring in there, and I've also seen a video of it as well. So I'm actually going to try the spring first, but I haven't done anything about that at the moment because I still need to repair that, and I just haven't had when it broke, I didn't have a working printer at all because my one hoe broke and my new printer hadn't arrived. So that's why there's sort of been a bit of a nothing going on in the summer, so there hasn't really been much updates to this. But what I have been doing was, as I say, just tidying up the cabling in here, and I've rerouted this cabling because it used to come out underneath here and here, but I've rerouted it inside with just a ribbon cable and power and controls. And again, I was just talking to some of the guys about how they did there, and loads of people got back to me. I think Ray Edgley actually did a little video on how he did his. Also Arius and did some things on the spring, as I say. And Mern also sent me a whole series of pictures on how he'd wired up his InMoov, which is great. So thank you guys, I really appreciate that. So I've moved the cables over the arm through here, and shortened a lot of the cable inside, because I had it all in that plastic sleeving, but I've cut back everything, so there's a lot less. It's still too much cable in there, but I've cut back a load of cabling inside, so there's nothing coming out in between the arms at all, and it's just that ribbon cable. This is quite long here. I know a lot of people have theirs really quite tight and tied in, which is fine, but I was doing some quite big movements with the arms where the arm got right up really high, at which point that started stretching, so I've added a little bit of cable in there. But for general movements, I don't think you need so much, but it's just because I was playing around with trying to get the arm as high as possible. The whole thing, as it goes round, wanted a lot more cable in, pulled more cable through. So I was just a bit concerned I'd ripped something. Inside, as I say, I've shortened all these ribbon cables coming in. I've shortened all the power cables inside, and I've taken the cables from the arm motors inside again and shortened everything. So there's a lot of reduction in cabling inside. I won't take it all apart in the front, but there was a lot of cables in the chest cavity. I was losing cable length. That's all gone. So there's quite a bit of difference in there. as I say, I put the sides on, but I've got that neck issue. Now I've got a couple of options with the neck. A few people suggested I try the drup, DRUPP neck, which I'm printing anyway, which I've actually printed, but I'm not going to put it on Nigel, my robot. I'm going to just repair this and keep to the Bob Houston neck assembly and put the spring in, and because I like this neck assembly, I think it's really good. I think it looks more robotic than the drip one, which I'm not sure what I think about it, if I like it or not. But I printed the drip one, and I also printed an entire new InMoov head since I've had my Prusa back again. So I'm not going to I'm not going to build another complete InMoov robot, but I'm going to build a tabletop head on a neck, because you may have seen the I think they're called the Alan robot project, which is not sort of available yet, but he's sort of got spoiler videos out of it, which is basically a chatbot head, which sits on his desk. So I think that's a great idea. So I've printed another InMoov head completely. Can't take it that way. I'll get the cables messed up. So I've printed another complete. I've got all the skull on there as well. Hold on, just print back up. I've finally assembled the whole skull together. I've always had it in bits, just on the skull, just showing you there. But obviously we've got this issue with is leaning forward. So the skull's actually finished, and I printed a complete new skull assembly, which is where I had several fails at reprinting these. But I finally finished it, and it is it's a combination of a few different things. I printed the InMoov head itself, the droop neck, and the Monobee eye set, which is on Thingiverse by Monobee, and also John D has got his eye set with the closing with the eyelids and stuff, which is on the InMoov everyone's doing at the moment. So I've sort of got a combination of two sets of eyes being printed, and I haven't built any of it, so it's all in bits at the moment, which I'll show you now. So I'm going to assemble all of that. The plan being to have a desktop head that is a chatbot connected to the internet and is like a fully working Siri type of thing, so I can ask it the weather and whatever and teach it. So rather than having a complete InMoov in my workshop, I can just practice in the office and just have it next to me and get used to it, and get my head around the chatbot programming, which is something I've never really developed on this, and also the camera recognition. Just spend a bit more time getting all of that working on just the head, if you see what I mean. The whole idea of a sentient robot head that can see you, that can talk to you, and can respond and ask you questions and answer you if you ask it questions. So that's going to be my next sort of project. But as I say, I'm still going to fix Nigel because he needs repairing, and then once I've worked out how to do the chatbot and everything properly, I can update Nigel with the chatbot, and then hopefully they'll talk to each other, which will be quite fun. Because again, I've seen that's what the Alan project does. He's got a couple of desktop chatbots, and they chat away to each other, which looks really good fun to achieve. So I'm gonna that is my next upcoming plan, so that's where I'm at the moment.